Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm finally sitting down and playing chess non-stop until I am in the top 99.9 percentile of chess.com rapid players. Now in the last episode we concluded with two rather unexciting draws, but today I am not getting up from this chair until I am in that top 0.1% of players. Let's get started with game number one. Alright, game number one, we get the black pieces against a 2000 rated opponent, and we do get e4. Now I haven't yet decided what kind of player I am. Do I play a King's Indian? Do I play a Sicilian? Do I play a Caro Kann? Am I a French player? I've been having a little bit of an identity crisis recently in terms of what kind of play. I've even experimented with the Queen's Indian recently. We get knight to c3. I guess I'll sort of play like a King's Indian, very non-confrontational opening, just trying to get my pieces out, get my king castled, and call it a day. We do get knight to e2. We'll play knight to f6, pawn d3. I mean, they're playing a pretty standard opening as well. Not really looking for any crazy breaking ideas, not consuming the center right away. We get bishop g5. So they're actually offering me a pretty reasonable amount of flexibility in terms of my position, but I will say this is kind of suspect and it makes me think queen d2 and long castles is on the way, which makes me want to go for a queenside attack. So I think I'm going to play a6 right away. If we do get queen d2, we'll follow that up right away with b5, but we get a4 instead. Okay, so the opponent is very much onto us and our idea. We'll play knight to d7, reinforces this knight. There's ideas of knight to e5, knight to b6 bothering the bishop. Queen to c1 is a very unique choice. I'm not exactly sure under what circumstances a player would play queen c1 and not just queen d2, so they have both options available. I mean, I guess it doesn't change that much for me. I'm going to play e5. I'd actually like to fight for the center, even though it gets in the way of my bishop. I feel better about fighting for the center head on and having this as more of a supporting piece that also kind of sees d4. Then going at it from the side with c5 when there's nothing actually there to target. We do get castles by the opponent. Let's go queen to e8. We get rid of this pin, and even though the queen was the only one defending c7, this knight doesn't really have a route to get here because both of those squares are covered. We get f4, challenging our center right away. I could just allow them to take. I would take back with the knight, centralizes my knight, bugs their bishop. That seems totally fine, but I think their actual idea is to push onto f5, and that I'm not so comfortable with. So I think I am going to just take right away. We get queen to f4, which puts substantial pressure on the knight, but nothing really concrete yet. They can't really finish us off because we have two defending minor pieces, and these are two major pieces attacking f6. It is, however, still a worry in the long run. So maybe knight to h5, they move over. They do have g4 ideas to uproot the knight, but I think we can lean into that. I mean, if they do play queen to h4, I play h6 because the battery no longer stops h6. If they do move the queen back, then I guess at some point they could use that tempo to play g4 and move the knight back, and I wouldn't be too mad about that. Yeah, we do get queen to d2 because this does weaken their king a little bit if they remove that pawn. It's no longer in front of the king where it typically is supposed to be. Let's go knight to e5 next. We unleash this bishop. Now g4 is actually covered. Crazy voice crack. And we're covering f7 as well. We also do that with tempo once again, pushing the enemy bishop back to b3. Now, I think the most logical step is bishop to e6 because f7 is always going to be a little bit of an obvious target for the opponent. So if I can cut off the bishop that sees f7 and even better, trade it off for an undeveloped piece, then I think I'm making progress there. We do get knight to d5, blocking that trade, targeting c7, and potentially looking at knight to f6. It is very, very tempting here to just take and get rid of that problem. I just don't love the idea of leaving their bishop staring at my f7 pawn. So maybe queen d7. If knight check, I take, they take with the bishop. I could take their bishop, they could take back. Takes, queen to e7. It's not the prettiest thing I've ever seen, but I think it does work. So we'll play queen to d7. Oh, knight e7 is also kind of annoying, but I have king to h8 though. I don't know. I've never loved playing these defensive positions, but I don't really think I have a choice here. We do get d4. Knight to g4, is that way too aggressive? Maybe just knight to c6, looks at d4, but the problem is then they have check, takes, and they're threatening d5 even though they can't play it right away. If I take right now, the bishop takes back. I don't really think that solves my problem. Oh, actually, well, no, knight here, check, I just take with my knight. Let's go knight to g4. I'm kind of baiting h3, and then I'm hoping that I can take, they will take back, and then maybe I have knight to f6 in that position. I mean, it's a little awkward because I don't know where that leaves this knight in terms of having squares to move to, but it's really hard for me to untangle this position right now. Oh, we get knight to e7 check instead. Okay, don't don't really have a choice but to move out of the way. Oh, and then d5 traps the bishop. Yeah, very nice find by the opponent. Okay, well, if I have to lose this bishop, I might as well try to fight for some sort of counter attack. I'm also way lower on time, so I don't have a lot of time to calculate. But if I'm going to lose a piece outright against an evenly rated opponent, then I might as well do it with some sort of counterplay on the board. So we'll play check. King does move out of the way. This is a mating idea, but we'd have to get rid of this knight first. So we'll go ahead and take back first. We're looking down the file. I mean, it goes without saying that being down a piece is not ideal in a position, but we're not going to give up quite yet. I think we have the king a little bit on the ropes, at least enough for complications, enough to justify continuing to play. Ooh, okay, pawn to c4 by the opponent. I'll admit, I'm not exactly sure what that's trying to do. Maybe just c5 for a break in the center. Maybe like bishop d1, trying to get rid of attacking pieces. I genuinely don't know exactly what that's looking for. So hopefully it's not a very crude oversight on my part, but I don't think we have anything to worry about with this. Another really kind of amusing idea is check. The king will most likely take, and then if somehow we had like d5 on the board, we could get on this diagonal. But the king would move back, and I don't know where we follow up there. Maybe d5 right away? Maybe that's what c4 was about, stopping d5. That would be an insane read by my opponent. Okay, let's just do this for the time being. I'm down to almost 2 minutes. I need to keep the pressure on the board, but play concretely. Okay, what is that? I think I can just take back. They sacrifice the knight on g6, which is very, very amusing. I don't actually know. Okay, what is this? Not really sure what's happening, to be honest. We get pawn to c5. I play this, and I'm just looking for a mate here. Maybe the opponent was just feeling the pressure of the knight being trapped on e7. I mean, in my head, it wasn't really trapped, because if I ever sack the rook for those two pieces, then they have two rooks, and I only have one fighting for the open file. So the compensation is, at best, unclear. But I think now I just have check. They have to take, I take back. They have to block with the bishop. You know, best case scenario, I just get my piece back and we trade. Worst case scenario, I take back with the knight, and I don't really know how that king escapes. So now we have check. If they move the king out of the way, I have queen h2, which is a wonderful little checkmate. Bishop h6 is the only good try here, yeah. If I do take with the queen, like I already said, it kills the attack. So I think it makes way more sense to take with the knight. That doesn't mean the attack is infallible, but any check on the diagonal, we just play e5, stopped by the bishop, or rather protected by the bishop, and there shouldn't be any other ways to get to our king. Right? They can take with check, I take back. They can give check here, I play e5. And just, I don't see how you stop. So that's one of the tries. I don't see how you stop the queen from getting to h2. So for anybody out there watching that maybe has a tendency to resign a little bit earlier than they maybe could, I highly encourage you to use this as an example to, you know, maybe play a little bit more, play a couple more moves. Oh, you know what the funniest thing is? I'm pretty sure the opponent just had check here and then wins the bishop. And they did not see it. Interesting. So I'm gonna, I could just play check, takes. That has to be totally winning, right? Surely. I'm just gonna play that. It's the lazy out, but it's a 100% guaranteed safe bet, and it takes the queen off the board, who is the biggest concern to our, oh, we have check. We are under a minute now, but I don't play bullet for nothing, so we should be totally fine here. Sure, we'll come towards the center. We'll bring the king up, so now he's not on the open file anymore. I mean, I don't even have to find the perfect moves. I just have to not play terrible moves. And eventually this position will almost convert itself, because I'm up enough material that I just need to trade the rook for the rook, the minor piece for the minor piece. And by the time everything is said and done, the only thing left over will be my extra queen. So I'll come in, sneaky little attack. Sure, I mean, I have knight g4 if they give check, king to h6. There are no more follow-up checks, sure. Now I'm looking at knight to e5. I don't know, I just need to drag the king out into the middle of the board and rough him up a little bit. So check here, just trying to coordinate all of my pieces. This is supported by the pawn. My queen and the rook have a little battery going on. I mean, they're having a good time. I might even have a discovered check this way with the king getting mated on e3, which would be insane. Okay, they decide to move the king out of the way. Let me just not flag this. So we'll do this check, and then I just want to get my queen to the center of the board. She'll have way more vision from there, if not just outright checkmate if the king moves up or over. Oh, this is already forced mate. I didn't really calculate it because I didn't have to, but if pawn to e5, I just take, and then if the king moves to either of these two squares, queen to d4 is mate all the same. They do move over, queen to d4 is that nice mate in the middle of the board. And we do get an award for hitting 2100 in rapid. So 2101, I'm pretty sure is not enough to be in that top 0.1%, but I will will check just to be sure. So if I go to rapid, yeah, 99.8. So I think we determined it was like 2110 or so that we needed to get to. So let's go ahead and queue up again. We are officially 2100, which is insane. 2105 is the opponent, but we do get the white pieces, which in my head, ooh, we get a Dutch defense though. I was gonna say, which in my head is basically an automatic victory, although that is very much not true. We do get knight to f6, we'll play e3, our normal London. Like I've mentioned in previous rapid videos, I used to play the Dutch all the time. Oh, but they go for this variation where you're kind of targeting e4 this way. Usually they fianchetto the bishop too. That is, wow, look at that. That's how the bishop moves now. Usually they move the bishop this way as well. We'll go ahead and take with the e-pawn to reinforce e4. d6. Wait a minute, what is this? Knight to f3. It looks like they're fighting for e5 now, or at the very least, trying to stop us from getting into e5, and they do fianchetto the kingside bishop. This is very, very unique. This may very well be an opening that I should be familiar with at this point in my chess journey, but I honestly can say I've never run into anything quite like this. I'm gonna go bishop to c4. I mean, that just looks really suspiciously weak. So I'm gonna try and control it if they give me the chance. If they do play d5, then we kind of just fall back on the usual setup where I go to e5, they go to e4, and we kind of duke it out from there. Bishop g7, I mean, they intend to castle this way, it seems. I'll play queen to e2, because I don't. If they castle this way, I'm throwing Harry the h-pawn directly down that file, and I'm castling to the other side to try to get a kingside attack going. So we'll see how they deal with this. Knight to h5. This is very unique. Bishop g5? h6 doesn't work because bishop back oh, it does work. Well, I have knight to e5. That's so confusing. What an interesting line. They're playing it relatively quickly as well. I mean, they're taking their time to think, so are we, but to be fair, I'm talking into a mic. So they are thinking about their moves a little bit. Very unique position. Okay, queen does move out of the way. So you'd imagine they want to push this pawn because they've very intentionally broken this pin. In which case, well, I don't know. Do I castle this way? Because they're slower at least to castle to the same side if they do decide to go to the queen side. But if I castle king side, I guess they're also slower to it because they have to deal with this bishop, and d5 is no longer possible. So if I castle, what's the threat? Like h6, I move the bishop out of the way. g5, this knight is hanging though, so knight e5 is still possible. If they ever take my bishop, I take their knight. So you'd imagine the knight goes back, and I guess my main concern would be I can never play bishop g3 because of f4 traps the bishop. Even though somehow there's like bishop to f7, but I think the king might be totally fine, so maybe knight to f7? Rook just moves out of the way. I don't think there's a follow-up there, so I don't really know what on earth to make of this. This is very weird. I don't really know what I'm looking at. Maybe I just lean into it anyways. Let's go this way. I'm going to castle queen side, and my idea is if they do play h6, maybe I just play bishop g5, they play g5, and I literally just sacrifice the bishop for the two pawns, and I make the argument that their king is in the middle, mine's not. I'm going to have an attack that they won't be able to stop. I think that's the argument that I'm going to try to lean into. Yeah, they do play g5. Let me just make sure there are no better ideas, which I don't think there are. Like, this looks really strangely appropriate. King takes, I have check. Somebody just takes, I take on h5, the king moves out of the way, and there's no actual follow-up. I think I'm just taking. Oh, I don't know, this feels like totally crazy house type of play, but I don't know, it looks really weak to me. This is the kind of play that in precisely crazy house would be completely crushing. Or in bug house, where you can put pieces back on the board, this would be devastating. We'll see if in regular chess it bears any fruit whatsoever. I mean, you'd imagine just having bishop f7 is already a problem, because we're threatening to stop them from being able to castle. They'll have to move the king out of the way, and I win the knight, so I'll just be up 2 pawns. So they either have to move the knight or move the king, or I don't know, something has to happen here. e6. Maybe they just go off the rails and go knight to f4. I don't know. Okay, knight to f6 is in fact what they settle on. So I can definitely play this right away and stop them from castling, which I think makes a lot of sense. I'm just trying to see if there's anything better for me. I don't think so. I'm just going to play check. King to d8 is the natural move running away from the attack, which is followed by bishop to e6, which looks like I want them to take so I can take back and then fork their king and their queen, but I don't expect them to. I expect them to play like, I don't know, bishop d7, and what the bishop actually did was actually get out of the way for the knight to go into f7, which hits the king on d8 and the rook on h8. Now, if they do go with the much more, wow, they go with the way more unnatural king to f8, at least in my opinion, more unnatural. So that idea doesn't work anymore for obvious reasons. Funny enough, this one still does. This one still hits the king and the queen, so I definitely don't expect them to take, but I think removing the bishop so it's not under fire by the king if this knight ever has to move is probably a sound idea. Not to mention, just fighting for e6 in general, I think makes a lot of sense. Oh, I'm dropping d4. I didn't even think about the fact fact that the opponent had a counterattack here. That is a very nice find by the opponent. Okay, let's see if we can capitalize on this at all. Like, what if I play, if I play this, they have the capture. Oh, that is actually a huge issue. Wow, I might just have to play queen d3 here and cut my losses. That's really bad. Queen d3 just trades everything off, and suddenly there's no threat on the board. I don't think I have a choice, so queen d3 it is. I mean, the only threat I would have at that point is like a long-winded maneuver that eventually targets f7, and if somehow the opponent manages to not do anything about that over the course of the entire maneuver, then we're back in business. But odds are they're just going to trade everything off, which puts me in a position of really having to figure out how to make up for the fact that I've sacrificed a bishop for 2 pawns. The king is still weak. It's not totally dissimilar to the last game. The king is weak and we're down material, but concretely, I don't think the position is full of life for us right now. We'll see. We'll see what the opponent makes of it. Like we already learned, never resign. It's always superfluous. Whoa, knight g4? This opponent came with their fancy pants on today, so it's like a discovered defense instead of a discovered attack, because it attacks my queen, but it by discovery defends the knight on d4 with that bishop. So I think they're trying to force me to lose this bishop. So if I play queen d3, that's kind of like the most obvious solution because we still look at f5. And should the opponent take, I have queen takes with a fork on the king and the knight. King would move out of the way, takes, and somehow we still hold on to the material. I guess queen f4 does the same thing. Queen d3, I guess, is less appropriate just because of knight takes f2 with the fork, and I don't think we can do anything about that. Maybe queen here? Maybe we give up the exchange on purpose, but I don't think that makes any sense. So we'll go queen to f4. Queen to f4, bishop e5. Oh man, this opponent really walked us into a corner here. Oh, and the best part is I just noticed queen to f4, knight e2. So queen d3 is, I think, the only option here. Okay, they do take on f2. Talk about eye on the prize. They are not getting distracted by anything. I don't even know. I guess queen back to e3. I have no choice but to give up some amount of material. I mean, maybe if they take this rook, I can take with the king, and then I at least am hitting the knight with the pawn at that point, so it has to move out of the way. But if they take this rook, I really don't know what I can do besides just take back. I'm just going to take back. I don't even think that's worth overthinking. And the opponent is basically just up a rook. You can see +5 points right here. They're up a rook right now. Okay, they do take with the bishop. We'll go ahead and take back with check, and I guess just pre-move the recapture since that's pretty much guaranteed. The only hope here is that somehow we get an attack on the opponent. The problem is after I take back with the queen to c8 just holds on to everything. So yeah, queen to c8 is such a nice move there. Holds on to everything nice and neat. I don't really think I have anything new there. If I move over, just rook to h6. If I move back, maybe if I move back, I'm fighting for some sort of interesting idea like rook to f1. Maybe knight to e4. I can take advantage of the fact that this pawn would be pinned as well and then go here with that idea. Not how the queen moves. With that idea, with mate. We'll see. We're both down to about 3 minutes. Bishop does go to e4. We'll go here. I'm totally fine with sacrificing pawns and anything else the opponent desires, if it just means that I can get some sort of counterplay going. Oh, was this to play e6 because this holds on to the pawn? That would make a lot of sense, actually. Yep, that's exactly what it was for. All right, queen to d3. We'll hold on to this so there's never a sacrificing idea. We'll look at this in case there ever is. Rook comes down and takes. Knight to e4, we're targeting d6. Also maybe looking at g5, potentially. g4 is also really interesting at some point, but f4 would always clog that idea. Okay, we'll go this way, targeting the pawn. Oops. Maybe this works. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the opponent plays. Although I think queen g2 might just be wraps here. Well, there's takes. The rook isn't actually hanging. The queen holds on to it. b2 is toast. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. Okay, king moves out of the way to e7, which means I can actually move back and stop this and also hit the bishop. We're down to almost a minute. I don't know how much that's actually going to influence the game. We'll move over. They are looking at b2 now, potentially. So if they do target it, any idea that isn't check is kind of weak. Okay, wait, can I take? No, because then I let go of this. So we'll play check right away. Rook goes down. We'll go back down as well. We'll hold on to this. Bishop to f4 is check. We'll move out of the way. Oh, queen d4. Yeah, queen d4 forces a queen trade. And that is just about over because now they're forcing a rook trade as well. Go ahead and take. King to c2. King to b3. And things are looking grim. Let's go. I don't even know. Let's go this way, I guess. Oh, that's a free knight. I'm going to be totally honest. I'm so blindsided right now that I didn't even see that was a free knight. We'll go like this. The only chance here is stalemate. Yeah, check. We'll move out of the way. Check again. We'll move back out of the way. Sure. Check again. Cover this way. Queen shuffles over, we'll shuffle over as well. Pawn goes up, b4, probably doesn't help our situation, but worth a try. We'll go ahead and take. Pawn takes, and there's just too many pawn moves for this to ever be stalemate. Yeah, and they do take on a4 and win the game. All right, GG's to the opponent. I'm genuinely curious what I could have done better there. Wow, it seems like I just messed up really early, right here it seems. Oh, shocking. Okay, apparently bishop g3 was the best move. My question is, why was bishop g3 any good? Pawn to f4, where's my sacrifice? Oh, it was knight to e5. It's even, which is interesting. It's not actually advantageous, but knight to e5 is best here. Taking with the knight, what happens if I just take, wait, what was I calculating here that was scary? Oh, it was knight back, I think. Oh, queen to d3. You just insist? That's really insane. And if they take, what happens? That's a mistake. This is better for white, if not close to winning. King to d7? I'd be more afraid of king to d8, just moving over. Oh, because there's this? Oh no, you just pick up the bishop. Oh, and otherwise I have mate. Wow. Okay, I should have trusted my gut and just gone with knight to e5, but I got a little bit scared there, so let's jump into the next game. All right, and we do get paired. We get the white pieces again, which is nice. Against Muttley, a 2100 rated opponent, will play knight to f3, c5. Now this is a tough one because I find that most of these players do take, although not all of them, which is where the problem is. Yep, this one is one that does not take. So I'll just commit this bishop back here, and what I might even do is if we do get d5, which we do, I might even try for knight to e5 and play a sort of stonewall with the white pieces. Now the problem is I'm a little late to it because I played bishop d3 first. And if they follow up with bishop d6, then there's really no chance of knight to e5. Yep, that's not good. Let's just castle, queen to e2, and then maybe we take an e4 or something along those lines. Okay, the opponent castles as well. Sure, let's just take and try to go for a center break. So pawn to e4. There is a tricky line here where we end up with the queen on e4. So takes, 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 takes. Queen looks at the free knight and it looks at mate on h7. But if they don't take, then we're looking at e5 as well. So maybe queen c7 holds on to e5. Broad point being that black needs to be a little careful here. Yeah, queen to c7 does hold on to e5. Go ahead and double down. Sure. I'm still inviting this idea. I would like to get my queen out and get this knight out of the way so the bishop can develop. So I would like to make them think that this is an actual problem. Now, they could just stop it with e5, which they do. I keep calling it right before it happens. And then move the bishop out of the way, which is really nice. And what do I do about that? Takes, takes, knight here. I think that makes sense. And then the bishop covers f4, which I think looks nice. Otherwise, I'm targeting their bishop as well. Maybe I develop in a moment. Maybe I end up with a kingside attack. That would be my ideal sort of endgame, is I finish this sort of kerfuffle in the middle of the board with a kingside attack ongoing. Ooh, bishop g4. Whoa, this is aggressive. Pins the knight, but allows me to take their bishop. Now, why would they allow that? I guess they want me to take, and then they want like f5. I'm gonna take it without thinking about it too much, because that is a bishop in a position that is definitely going to end up open at some point. So kind of a no-brainer move in my opinion to just take that. Next, we'll probably just play h3, boot this bishop. If they do move back, I can even move this way with tempo on h7. Does not seem like a bad trade to me. Then I'm targeting e5 with two different pieces. That makes total sense. If they move back, we can trade. That's totally fine with me. I still have that same attack going. And then the final question is, where exactly does this bishop end up? Yeah, so they do go in for the trade, which is totally cool. If they take with the queen, then we win e5. So they kind of have to take with one of these two pawns, which they do. What do we do now? Let's go bishop g5. Since you'd imagine we're going to fight for this open file, I can at least look at d8. If they do play f6, g6 is kind of weak. They're not actually trapping my bishop because I can even go back as far as h2 if need be. And now I've connected my rooks. I can do this, pin the knight. c4 would be, actually it wouldn't be winning a piece because they have this funny little tempo, but there's pressure on this knight. Maybe queen b3 is more accurate. Queen does move out of the way, and we can really just go ahead with queen to e4. I mean, I see no reason to leave that knight on d5 in all its glory, kind of just attacking into my position. So I'm going to give it the boot. And again, it's hard to reinforce because of that bishop on g5. So it does go back to f6. This might be almost the point where we trade off the bishop. I think we're getting close to, yeah, I think we should just get rid of it. It just has a kind of hard time looking at anything specific, and I'd rather just take and then actually target these pieces. Whoa, taking with the pawn. Looks for f5, but is a little bit janky, I think. What about queen d5? Hits this, hits that, hits that. Just a whole party in the center of the board. If rook to d8, maybe we just trade? I don't know. This pawn island looks a little bit weirdly placed to me, but I don't know. Maybe it's a powerhouse in the center of the board, but I'd have to see it in action to believe it. I will say if they do take, it's kind of game over because we're active in targeting these sort of weak pawns. Yeah, so they do play rook to d8. We'll go ahead and take. Pawn does take back. Go king to f1, looking for king d2, and we want to be the one to have support on d1 to be able to trade off on that d file. We also centralize the king, so he's ready to attack. King to h7. Now my concern is if king to e2, e4, and this knight suddenly doesn't have anywhere good to go. If we move back, we allow the opponent to centralize, which is really not ideal, but I can't do anything about that really. You know what? Maybe I'm doing the attack on the wrong side. Maybe I should be going this way and fighting for an outside pass pawn. Let's try g3. It's really hard for black to advance. If they play e4, I can trade and then take here. If they play f5, I can do the same thing and then take on e5. So maybe I just go this way instead. These endgames are very difficult to sort of figure out. Maybe something else on my mind should be b3, c4. I just don't like the weaknesses it creates. They do take, we'll go ahead and take back. Now e4 is possible now, but they don't play it. We'll definitely take and then move back. And once you kind of see the sort of knight on knight endgame, pretty much what you're looking for is how quickly can I attack all of my opponent's pieces. So knight to e4 here is a perfect example. Hits f6, hits c5. They do move out of the way. Now we have this fork. You'd imagine they'd defend this one, because if I take this, then they have 4 different pawn, let's do it with a different color. They have 4 different pawn islands. So they do defend this one. We'll go ahead and take on c5 though, now targeting e6. You'd imagine like knight d8 or something is kind of forced. Ooh, knight to a5, they are not defending anything. So if I take, they play here. They're basically making the bet that they can take my pawns back, but I'm pretty confident they can't. So I'm gonna take on e6. They do play knight c4. You'd imagine this, or maybe I just play b4 and start going for the pawn push. I think b3 makes more sense though. Yeah, b3, if they do give check, I think I just move out of the way. Oh, if I move this way, knight b1, c4, check, king d3, knight here. I can't really trap their knight. So maybe king d1 is more precise. Here, 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 I push. They take, I push, and I get away. So I'll play king d1. If they do check this way, that's totally fine. I don't actually lose a pawn in that direction. They do move the knight down. We'll play c4. They move the knight down again, targeting a2. If I play this, they take. Not how the pawn moves. I play this, they play here. I push. There's no way they catch me. So c5, they kind of have to go this way. Otherwise, I'm definitely pushing with the intent to promote. Yeah, they do move back. Let's go a4. Where does this knight move now? Back to c3? Back to a3 maybe? But that's trapped. So yeah, back to c3 you'd imagine is the only move. King here, knight goes back. I sort of start developing with these attacking moves. And you don't traditionally think of the king as an attacking piece, but whoa! Rule of the square. The enemy's king is outside of my square, so they cannot catch me. And this is not a passed pawn because my king is right there. So we do get the resignation and win that game. We do get all 8 points back from the previous loss as well. And with that, we dive into the next game. Okay, we're paired against Grandmother Levy, rated 2004. We'll play d6. That is an absolutely amazing profile picture and username. Unfortunately, I stand to lose 9 rating points if I lose against Grandmother Levy, so I have to tread with caution. They do play this very aggressive sort of variation. Not super terrified of it. In fact, I'm going to play h5 and poke the bear a little bit, see what they're kind of into. We'll play e6, just super rock solid. Zero interest in your sacrifices or your f5 pushes. I don't want to know. I don't want to see it. Keep it to yourself. We're just going to play super rock solid, see which way they castle, and then try to direct our focus in that general direction. Okay, so they do castle kingside. Let's go. You'd imagine f5 is in their playbook. So what if I play f5 first? Takes, takes? Is that totally loony? I think it is because it weakens e6 too much. What we can do is go queen to e7, knight b5. We'll go a6 first, but this kind of looks interesting. Nope. Knight to f6, looking for knight g4. Okay, they play a4 as if I were looking for b5. Let's go knight to f6. If they do want to play e5, I'm fine with that because I think knight g4 looks really interesting. Knight g4, h3, d5, they move the bishop back. I don't know, do I even care if they take? Because I end up booting the knight and then queen to h4 looks really scary. So I don't think I do. I'll play knight g4. I genuinely don't think there's any concern there. They do play h3. Oh, because they're going to take and then play knight g5, which is a concern because it stops queen to h4. I see. Okay, we'll play d5 first. I'd rather close up the center so we only end up playing on the flanks. And I definitely don't want to have to worry about my king in the center. Yeah, we do get bishop d3. I think I have to reroute my knight. I don't think I can leave it there because if knight g5, there's just no way for the queen to get into the attack. So knight h6 looking for knight to f5 makes more sense. We'll go queen to e7. If they do play g4, what do I do about that? Takes, takes? I don't know. I think maybe I should have some focus on getting my king out of the center. That way I can play with a little more freedom like pawn to f6 and what have you. Queen to f3, sure, b6. I mean, if they direct their entire focus on moving their pieces to the king side, that kind of plays into our idea because that's what we want too. We want to fight wherever their king is. We just don't don't want our king there, so we want to castle him out of the way. Bishop d2. It looks like they're sort of having second thoughts. Now connecting the rooks. Nope. They bring everybody over. Okay, we'll castle long, and I guess we're in for a battle on this side of the board. Don't mind if I do. Bishop goes back, targeting a6. So they do have second thoughts. Interesting. Is that a concern? I think it is. What if I go c5? Is that totally insane? They take, I take? It's probably totally insane. I need to play on this side of the board. The question is, how do I break through this? Let's go knight to f5. Knight g3 is an immediate sort of threat. If they do take, I take back, and then I'm fighting on this, or rather I'm fighting for the g file, maybe f6 or something, or just bishop h6, anything I can do there. Okay, so they allow knight g3, sure. I mean, if they take, I take back. I don't love having lost that pawn, but I can always go rook to a8, and I think I'm kind of holding on to everything there. Queen comes out to b5. Kind of a no-brainer capture on f1. Now, what do I do about a5? Sort of impending doom. Maybe c5 and I just try to trade the queens. Oh, but they have knight f7. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, h5 I think was just way too premature. A little bit of a naive attacking idea there. They do take, so they do allow me to go for the trade, which is not the end of the world. I mean, I can play that endgame too. Yeah, problem is I think I don't have a choice now but to lean into it. So we will. They do have knight takes f7. Sure. I take back, and there go my connected rooks. Okay, let's go here. Then we'll pre-move the capture on d8. And what are they up? Oh, they're up 2 pawns. That is unfortunately not a small amount of material in this sort of endgame. We'll see if we're able to bamboozle them out of those 2 pawns and maybe more. Okay, pawn comes out to the center. Knight to e4. If they do take, it opens up a file for me, hitting that bishop on d2. My king is on a light square, so I never have to worry about any sort of, bishop check. And they do take, so I'm kind of hoping that by having 10 million pawn islands, all on light squares, by the way, minus the one on b6, I make it difficult for the opponent to hunt down my pawns. Let's go this way, targeting c2, and I'm hoping that because they have more pawns, I just inherently have more possibilities and ways to target those pawns. Rook shuffles over, makes sense. Let's go here, targets this, they'll probably play c3, then I'll have bishop f8 looking for this. I guess that doesn't really do anything. Unless they move the bishop, it doesn't actually do anything. Yeah, so I might be looking at rook back to c8, looking for rook to a8, and this way. They want to chat. Do you do YouTube? I just sort of remembered your username from somewhere. I do. That's so funny. Thank you. I do. That's really funny. Trademark smiley face. King to e2. Let's go ahead and shuffle over to a8. Grandmother Levy has now recognized my existence. That's so funny. They say, oh, nice. Yeah, that's so funny. Grandmother Levy. Thank you, Grandmother Levy. Rook does shuffle back over to protect a4, which makes sense. Let's go back over here. They say, hey, just a question. Say, sure, what's up? They say, any advice in how to cope with losing streaks? Not about improving, but just how to deal with a sense of insecurities and emotions. That's actually a very, very good question. They say something I suffered from childhood as well, but they play bishop d4. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I would say if you're on a losing streak, and it's funny because Croissant asked me about this for one of his videos as well. If you're on a losing streak, you probably need to be able to have the self-control to take a forced break, because realistically, if you're playing on emotions, you're not going to be playing your best sort of chess. Let me go ahead and type that out for them. I would say that if you notice you're on a losing streak, let's say 3 games, it's probably good to practice forcing yourself to, it's giving me a limit, probably good to practice stepping away. You can have forced/planned breaks of minimum, let's say 30 minutes, doing something else, or even just come back the next day. I will say and I'll type this out as well, it's tough in the moment, but you'll feel so much better after. Smiley face. Boom. Trademark smiley face. Okay. I'm glad I was able to give them that advice, because I will be taking my own advice no, I'm kidding. In just a moment when I lose this game. We do get bishop d4, which holds on to everything. Let's go rook c4, looking for bishop takes, not how the pawn moves. Should the pawn take, then we have rook takes d4. Grandmother Levy says, a few days ago I won 8 games and got 1 draw in rapid. Then the next day, I lost 1 or 2 and took it personal. Yeah, I mean, it's part of the up and downs of chess. You have to have the sour to have the sweet after. So I felt bad about it a bit, then lost a bit more, and then it made my esteem a lot worse. Yeah, that's understandable. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, of course. I'm gonna say, I understand that, and of course. Oh, they make a really good point. They say, I needed to hear that because nobody talks about this in the chess community, which is fair. Most of chess is revolved around the actual gameplay or the top players or something to that extent. Oh, they give me a smiley face with 2 mouths, so that is, you'd imagine, their trademark move. So king d3, what do we do about this? I mean, we're dropping e4. I can't displace that bishop on d4. Let's go rook to c8, and maybe I have just a different attack on f4, but then g3, h4, it's not so clear. We do get king takes e4. Let's go h4 first, so g3 isn't possible, and at least we force the rook or the bishop to come over. They say we can chat after game. I don't want you to lose time. I'm gonna say I appreciate that. Haha, that's really funny. We do get rook to g1, presumably looking for g3 in the pawn break. Maybe bishop here. If they do play g3, we have rook to f8. Bishop back, rook back over. I mean, we're fighting for loose ends here, but we'll give it our best shot. Yeah, bishop goes back to e3, makes sense. If I do go back, the opponent could take. I would take back here. Opponent takes on g6. Bishop goes back. It's a very questionable position, but at least we're fighting for something there. So let's give that a try. Yeah, king back to d3. Just hold on to the pawn. And the problem is I really don't have a way to force them to lose any amount of material. I mean, we can try check. King goes back. Interesting. Let's go king to c6. And I think the only way I win this is somehow I break into the position and kind of get them against the ropes. But I'm dropping g6, so I go here. They defend this anyways. Go king to d5. There's no longer this check because I moved the rook out of the way. So if they do take, I play this way. Okay. They could just pin me here, which is kind of bad. But again, I'm just playing for chances. Bishop does take on b6. Makes sense. Let's go bishop to e7, targeting h4. And then maybe I get the rook out this way. Yeah, we'll go rook to f8, targeting f4 this way. And I know it seems sketchy, but my long-term plan is somehow get to the enemy king. So bishop does go back. Yeah, the problem is how on earth do you do that? And I don't have an answer. I guess king here. Rook to d8 would be nice on the next turn. Okay, rook to d8. They're going with this pawn because this pawn currently holds on to the rook. So we'll target this bishop instead. Ooh, they counterattack. I see. Bishop here. We're down to almost a minute. King goes back, sure. We'll try and follow suit, but don't think I have much of an attack here anymore. Yeah, pawn to h6. I'm gonna have a really hard time justifying this. I'm trying to see if there's even any stalemate trap, but I don't see anything here. I just see h7 incoming. So we'll try to go for king to e2. There's rook g2. I play here. They can even sack the rook, and they're probably totally fine, but we'll give it a try. Not to mention we're down to 27 seconds, so if I don't play something, then I'm losing on time anyways. They do move back out of the way. Let's go here looking for rook d3. You'd imagine rook g8. Yeah, we'll look for this. They do promote. We'll play check. This attack is very unlikely to succeed. Let's go this way. We are put in check. Yeah, and pretty much any combination of moves here is probably mate. Yeah, check over. King is now by himself. Is usually not where you want him to have to be. There is mate on... Oh, they don't play it. Oh, they play discovered check. We'll block with the rook, move the king down, and that is mate on g6. GG's to the opponent. GG's. Megan says, I want checkmate. Can you see this? I can now. I can't see chat while I play though. All right, let's go to move on to the next game. All right, we are given the black pieces against Aikido, rated 2042. I did say in the last video, oh, get d4. I did say in the last video that I'm probably somewhere around my true max, which I think is true. 2090, just under 2100, is probably my quote-unquote true elo. But just for the sake of the challenge of getting into that top 0.1%, I do think I can probably just play enough games where, you know, I get a good streak of like 2 or 3 that put me right over where I need to be. We get pawn to e3. Let's go and castle out of the way. Knight e7. Knight e4 looks like fun. They're not going to let me do it again. Makes sense. They do castle out of the way as well. Play pawn to h6, so this is never an idea. Rook goes to e1. I imagine they're looking for this. Let's go pawn to b6. Maybe we can position ourselves on the long diagonal. I'd like to connect the rooks as well. We do get pawn to e4. We'll trade everybody off. Knight takes, we'll take back. Bishop takes, knight to f6, encourages the bishop to move away. And then bishop b7 lines up on the long diagonal. We look at the center, and we'll just try to play a normal solid game from there. It would be funny if they played knight to e5, trying to bait queen takes d4 with the bishop check, losing the queen. But if they do play knight to e5, I'm just going to ignore it and probably keep going towards the center. Okay, we do get rook to c1. Let's go here. I don't know why I feel the need to move this rook over instead of this one. Moving this one over just feels weak somehow. I wish I could give a better explanation than that, but my instinct is telling me this one is better. It may very well not be. It may be that this side opens up and then I wish I had this one over here, but we'll see. We get pawn to b3, which is also an interesting choice, considering we both have light squared bishops, and that move places all these pawns on light squares. Let's go c5 and try to break open the center. I think they have no choice but to take. We can take back, we pin the bishop, we're looking at this potentially. I mean, I would only ever take this if it doubled the pawn, so if the queen was still there, it wouldn't really be of interest. Actually, they can't take. What am I talking about? There's just this. Wait, maybe I'm winning a pawn. Hold on a second. I may have played something right now. Let's go. Yeah, bishop to b1 just allows me to take. You'd imagine they're looking for this, but the knight is always there, which is fine. So it should be that we've just won a pawn. Knight to e5 weakens the diagonal, but the knight is actually somehow really well placed there. And suddenly I wish I had the rook here so I could play rook c5. Funny how that works. What do we do here? I was thinking knight d7, but then nobody looks at h7. So queen d3 becomes a threat again. If I play g6, there's just a sacrifice, which looks bad. So let's go over with the rook. It's done its function by winning us the pawn on d4, but it's time for it to come this way instead. Maybe even all the way to g5, looking at g2 with the bishop. Or even h5, you know, if it's not free, looking at h2 with the queen. And it can't easily be stopped by b4 either. Yeah, we do get queen to d3. So they're probably looking for knight g4 to displace the knight and then mate, which makes sense. If I play this now, knight g4 anyways, knight e4 myself, they take, I take, they take, f5. I think that looks good for me. So I'm going to play rook to c5. Knight to f3 instead. Okay. So they have this lined up, but they're not actively trying to get rid of this knight quite yet. You'd imagine I could play rook to f5. If the queen moves out of the way, I might even just sacrifice. I can't play knight g4 looking for my own attack because mate is still on the board. Okay, let's go rook to f5. It's just very tempting that if I take and they take with the pawn, that's very, very weak for the enemy king. And if they do move the knight out of the way, then, you know, I have different attacking ideas. Queen takes d4. Oh, I didn't even notice that was attacking the d4 pawn. Well, that's kind of a big oversight. I'd kind of like to keep the queens on the board. I feel like I'm attacking more than they are. Oh, but they're looking at my rook as well. So if I do move the queen out of the way, I just drop the exchange. So I kind of have to take. Yeah, then I'll move the rook out of the way, trying for this, but g3 is probably fine. Try to fight for the open file. All hope is not lost, but the attack is gone, and so is the extra pawn. Yep, so rook to d8, they'll probably fight for the open file again. And I can't even connect my rooks. Not great. Ooh, knight b5, they just move out of the way. So what about a6? I just push the knight away even further. It has to go back now, which it does. And then like bishop to f3, controls this, controls d1, so they can't fight for the open file, controls all the squares the knight can move to the left side of the board. I think that makes pretty good sense. Maybe like rook d2, knight g4 to follow, targeting f2. The problem is this rook is very badly placed, right? This rook makes a lot of sense here with a queen that can get involved. But alone, it's not going to do anything against this very solid structure. So it needs a way to get into the position that's not the G file. The problem is that's not available. The E file is covered, the D5 squared is covered, A5 is a waste of time because A2 is more than covered. So it's not really clear how that rook gets into the attack. I mean, maybe there's like H5, H4, but that just seems really slow. Maybe I play rook G4, rook D4. Also very slow, but I might have the tempo for it now with this being covered. They might just play knight E4 though and try to trade everything off, which would be pretty reasonable, but then A2 comes into play again, so A5 is viable. We'll see. We'll see what they play. Okay, they do play rook to E3, trying to boot the bishop. I think I'll go bishop G4, bishop G4, F3. So do I stay on the long diagonal, which is what my instinct is telling me to do, or do I move out of the way? I think I stay on the long diagonal. I don't think I want to find out what happens if I don't even have the long diagonal to play with. Yeah, rook to D1, they go for the trade. What if I go rook D7? Oh, rook D7, rook D3. I take, kind of leads to the same thing, so we'll try that. I'm trying that to see if I can get this maneuver, but on my own terms, which they do allow. Probably looking for rook D3 with a mating idea on D8, since the bishop covers the escape square. So if they do play rook d3, I probably have to play like g6 first, but then I'm looking for knight to e5, knight to f3, and then I have my own complications that I'm looking for. Bishop to e4 makes sense. Trading off my strongest piece. Well, it's not like I really have a choice, so I guess I take. Rook takes back, sure. King towards the center, and then I'm looking for like this if the knight ever moves. Maybe knight c5. What do I do about this? Just king d7, I guess. Yeah, king d7. They do go knight e4. I just have rook over here, and it's okay. I mean, it's not. It might be a tiny bit better for me just because I have my king in the center already, but if it is, it's probably very marginal. Pawn to f3. That's kind of weird. Rook to e5. Rook to e5, king to f2 just stops everything. Okay. I say this is kind of weird because it doesn't really create a solid structure. It's not with tempo. Not really sure exactly what it's looking for. I guess just rook to e5. I mean, king to f2 is guaranteed anyways, but yeah, king to f2, sure. h5. This is definitely going to be one of those slow burn endgames. Yeah, you can see the opponent already wanting to just trade off the rooks. If we do trade, I don't think I'm better there, and I think I kind of throw away any attacking chances. So probably rook to a5. If they play a4, rook back over. Knight d5 is actually kind of a big concern, so I drop b6. So maybe I do have to take. Okay, sure. I think knight c5 is reasonable, because if I get this pawn structure, I'm actually in a pretty nice spot. If they move the knight away, I jump in with the knight and I start attacking. So I think they kind of have to take, and then I get to take back. And then my goal would be to push through on the king side before they create an effective pass pawn on the queen side, right? So they do take, so you'd imagine a3 is coming soon. Ooh, king to e3, e5, king e6. I'm gonna wait for them to play a3 for me to play a5. Okay, king d6 for certain now. f5 is upcoming. Yeah, a3, a5. And the idea is, should they push, I should always be able to take back. And as you can see, my pawn would be on the 4th rank and theirs would also be on the 4th rank, which for me is good for promotion, but for them it's not. So let's go f5. We'll see if they try to force this idea, in which case we play e4. They do. Ooh, maybe f4 even. But then if they take, I take back and I'm stuck. So e4 takes. Seems winning to me. I don't know. Looks really good. We'll go ahead and lean into it. Because I think what they should have done is just stayed in the center with the king and tried for a draw, which I think they would have been able to do. But if they're going to try to play for the win, I think I'm faster down the middle of the board. So they're definitely thinking about it. They do play b4. Okay. So if I take, they take, I push, they push, I promote way before they do. So even if they push, I have check, queen to a5. And they do resign. Okay. So before we even get to make a move, they do resign the game. Flowchess says this is the second time I see you. I think Megan and Flowchess have been talking in the chat. All right. We're now 2099, still not in the top 0.1%. We're paired with Storm, rated 2048. Ooh, a different opening, which I very much appreciate. If you'd like to double my pawns, I would oblige. f4. Okay. We're definitely playing into a boom sort of situation, which I'm more than happy to lean into. I will trade this off lightning fast because I don't have to worry about b7 anymore since the queen can't come down this way. Give me that and weaken this, please, and thank you. e6. I could not ask for a better pawn structure to have to play into. Let's go this way. Targets f4. And you just see all these weak and dark squares. There has to be a sort of winning idea there for me. I mean, this will come down to purely whether or not I can find it. Yeah, bishop to e5. I just take. Knight to d7. Targets the pawn. Queen to h4 is also on the board. Oh, maybe queen d2 covers both of those. No, I play check anyways. I trade and then knight takes. Yeah, so check. King can no longer castle. I think I'm already significantly better here. So king e2, king d2. One of those two is forced. I castle f6 and just try to bust open the position as fast as I can. Maybe even c5 if we get king d2 since the queen won't see d4 anymore. King to e2 though. I'm gonna go ahead and castle first. If they do try to offer a queen trade, I'm out of there lightning quick. I just care about the fact that the king is stuck in the middle. Yeah, knight d2 will play c5. You see the queen isn't covering d4 anymore, so we're targeting that right away. We'll take. I'm super excited. Knight c6, give me that. d4 is next. This is the kind of position that I live to play. King in the middle, I'm castled, everybody's active. Come on, everybody's getting into this attack. Everybody's getting a piece of this pie. Give me that rook on the f file. Give me that weakness on d4. Give me a queen on dark squares where the bishop is nowhere to be seen. This is my type of position 100%. Let's see if I can manage to actually win it though. Whoa, king to d3. Welcome to the party, Mr. King. f6 I think is just a no-brainer as well. Just everybody's going for the king right away. You'd imagine they're trying to go this way, but as long as I continue to create weaknesses on, rather in the middle of the board, I think it's really hard for them to defend this position. If they do take, I can even take with the queen. And how do you defend d4? It's literally impossible. The knight can't do it. The queen can't do it. Oh, the queen, well, queen to e1. So they do try to trade, which of course I have no interest in. So queen to h6, queen g6 is now on the board as well. If they do move the king back, I probably play rook to c8, allow them to move back again, and then I take. And I think there's some good ideas there. Queen to e3. Interesting. They want me to take, of course, to trade queens. If I check this way, the king has to go back to e2, which is very amusing to me. But I don't think I can make anything of that. Well, yeah, I could, because I can take and then play knight c2 and win a rook. But then bishop d3 traps the knight. It's not so convincing. It is not so convincing. Let's go check. Check. Just keep the king in the middle of the board. Keep the queens in the center. There's no way to block. Yeah. King shuffles over. I like what I see. We're going to take. If they take back, d4 wins the queen. If they don't take back, this also wins the queen. If they move the king out of the way, then maybe we take with knight. Maybe we take with, what do we take with here? If I take with the knight, bishop d3 is kind of pesky. I mean, I'm already up an obscene amount of material. I can't really be complaining for more, or rather I will be in a second, but let's go ahead and take this way. Well, that doesn't really activate any pieces. Yeah, let's just capture this way. If they move the queen out of the way, we'll move her out of the way as well. And again, we just keep the queens on the board. We are absolutely consuming the center, and we have plenty of attacking ideas to justify playing this a little bit more slowly. Yeah, queen goes back, knight b4, queen to c2 is the idea. Rook shuffles over, we'll fight for the file as well. And as you can see, our rooks are connected, but theirs are not. So this attack is pretty much guaranteed to fall our way. Okay, pawn to a3. You'd imagine check is very much justified because the queen follows, and then queen to a2 would be mate. The king moves out of the way right away. I guess rook to a2 is winning. Yeah, so they do resign, and we do win that game. Now we're rated 2106. I am pretty confident that's still not in the top 0.1%. We'll probably still need another game, but we're much closer now than we were. Yeah, so we're still 0.8%, but I think if we get one more win, we'll be exactly where we want to be. So, new 10-minute game. Let's dive in. I'm excited. 2026 rated opponent. We get the white white pieces. I do stand to lose 10 points if I lose this game, but I think this final 6 that I could win might put me right where I want to be. Okay, perfect symmetry so far. Still perfect symmetry. We'll break that with the tension here. And they do move back. We'll play queen to e2. I also like moving back. So if they play bishop d6, I'm playing here. And then knight e2, we'll play c3. If they want to take, we can take. If they do play c4, maybe I should just trade now. Well, it's tricky. It's very tricky. Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and just trade because I have knight e5 following up soon. So if they play bishop d6, knight e5, oh, they play knight c6. Whoa, interesting. Very, very interesting. What about e4? Is that premature? I don't think it is. I think their king is in the center and mine is ready to go. So I'm going to make them squirm a little bit and see which way they castle before I continue my sort of ideas. Also, I love the little Levy Rosman head that they have as their flare. That's pretty funny. I have my flare as a black king for obvious reasons, but what did I used to have it as? I used to have it as something different. Oh, I think I had it as Santa one time because I think Hans even had it as Santa or something. We all go through our growing phases. We do take back. Queen comes out to b6. I think I'm just playing rook to b1. I don't feel like castling into a queen side attack. Just doesn't seem like the wisest of ideas. Wow, they castle queen side. Not a single care in the world. You have to sort of respect it. Okay, but knight d2 now, I target c4. And obviously I want to castle here in just a second, but I don't want to lean into this too quickly. I want to have some pressure myself first. So bishop takes. Wait, why can't I just take? Queen to b5? Pawn to b3 seems fine. I think that's okay. I think I just win a pawn there. Queen to a6? b3? I mean, I invite the opponent to take, so I have a reason to castle and then something to actually attack, which would in that case be the queen. I have a funny feeling they won't, but if they do, I'm castling in a heartbeat. Oh, they do. All right, we're castled. As you can see, there's no actual weakness to follow up on. It's just a queen by herself. On the second rank, on the wrong side of the board for the actual attack. So the rerouting here, how do you even reroute the queen from here? It would have to be something like that, which takes forever. Okay, rook to h4 pins the bishop to the queen. So they're looking for some sort of counter idea here. I think if I play rook to a1, they have to take. Rook this way, I drop the knight. That's probably unnecessary though. Maybe I play this, queen takes, knight a5. That also seems kind of unnecessary. What about rook here? Queen just goes back though. Okay, let's do this. G3, because I'm that confident that I have nothing to fear. Yeah, rook shuffles over to G4, and now I don't really care, I think. So queen to F3. F5 is kind of forced to defend the rook, and we've managed to tangle the opponent's position a little bit better, right? And you can see if the queen could somehow be here right now, we'd be talking about a totally different game, but she's not. So the rook has to defend for itself with the pawn, which now weakens e6. So now what happens if I play here? Queen still takes. I'm still not convinced. It just looks weird. Maybe knight to e5? Yeah, knight to e5 makes more sense, I think. If they take, I just take back with the bishop. You'll notice the queen is still awkwardly placed here. I think this is a little bit cleaner. I don't know, because it also feels like I'm not capitalizing on the opponent's weaknesses, but you'd imagine I can do that at any stage in the game. So if the queen goes back now, I play rook to a1. If they try to offer a queen trade, more than happy to, as long as I land here. Bishop to h4 is kind of a non-threat, so we'll play rook to a1. Queen, I think, has to take. Maybe queen d2 instead. I don't know. I'm taking on a7 either way, and then I have b7. Unless they take here, in which case I'm playing rook to b1, and then I have queen takes b7. So queen c2 is what we get. Yeah, I don't think I have to think about that too much. I'm just targeting, this is mate right away. So what, queen d4? I take, they take. This is nothing right now. So yeah, rook to rook d5 is kind of a funny way of stopping that. I think it's still fine though. c4, you just force the rook out of the way. Excuse me, trying to get checkmate over here. If they play back, this is a kind of funny mate because the rook stops the king's escape square, so that's a little funny looking, but it works. Yeah, and I think whatever the opponent does now, they're just losing a rook, so we should be fine. Should be good to go here. Oh, we do get a bishop sack. It's a little desperate, I think, because I'm pretty sure I can just take and there's no follow-up there. The only way that could have worked is if I had taken with the f-pawn, they play rook to h4, and then I totally ignore the free rook and allow queen to h2. Yeah, okay, they block with the queen, we'll take the free rook, and we're up an obscene amount of material, so you'd imagine resignation is incoming. Yeah, so we do win that game. We're now rated 21-12. Now I do think we have a good chance now of being in the top 99.9. Let's go ahead and take a look-see. Nice. Very, very nice. We stuck with it. It was honestly a little hard, a little drawn out. It was hard to stick with our true playing style, but I think I did a pretty good job of doing that. And with that, after a 41-point rating climb, which I know doesn't necessarily seem like a lot, but when you're already playing at peak, it feels pretty nice. It feels like a good place to be. We do manage to make our way into the top 0.1% of rapid players on chess.com, which is great news because that means that I have no reason to play rapid now, at least for another year. So if you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below if there are any other sort of rapid related slow chess style videos that you would like to see. If there are any other metrics that maybe I can try to reach that would give me an excuse to play more normal chess. Maybe I should try 99.9 in some of the other time controls, or maybe I should try, I don't know, you guys let me know something else. If you did enjoy, consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you guys in in the next one.